Hello, I'm Steph from IDRIVEACLASSIC and today I'm back at one of my favourite car shows of the year. It's Festival of the Unexceptional 2022. At the peak of today's show, because confession, it is a little bit late in the day me filming the intro because it was so busy earlier, there were over 1,500 cars here today, which means it'd be impossible for me to show you in one single video every single car that was here. But the cars aren't really why I come. I really like talking to the people that own the cars and finding out some of the stories behind them, because whilst two cars may be the same, their stories could be completely different. So in today's coverage of the show, I'm going to show you as many cars as I can, but whilst we're looking at some of the cars and walking around together, I'm going to get some of the people that are here to tell the stories of them and their cars. So first of all, we're going to kick off for a walk around the car park and then we're going to head up into concourse.
Hello, I'm Keith Slate. I've come here today in my Peugeot 406 estate. It's the second 406 I've had. It's a car that I enjoy driving, and I most probably wouldn't change, and I intend to keep this until it's dead and it will go no further. Yeah, we've had quite good adventures with it. I've used it as a daily for commuting to work. At one point I was doing a 500-mile round trip to work and back, and it performed really successfully on that one. So we've had other classics. We've got other nice cars at home, but the 406 is my favourite. So yeah, a nice, cheap, approachable car. And while we've been here, yeah, there's many people who've had one in the past, and I think everyone that's had one has enjoyed having it.
I'm George Cobden, and I've got a Volvo 850. I've also got a 1978 Citroen GS Club Estate, and I've had many 2CVs. I don't own modern cars, so they're just not reliable, and I can't work on them. I know how to pull apart a classic car quite easily. We do have one modern car, which is my partner's car, which I've just rebuilt the front end, and it was a nightmare. I've had this for about 3 months now, and it's my favourite car I've had so far.
Hello, right, my name's Peter Simpson. I've been a classic car journalist for nearly 40 years now. Started off on Practical Classics as a trainee in 1985. As editor from 1991 to 95, then editor of Car Mechanics for 13 years, then Classic Car Weekly for a couple of years, and then Classic Car Buyer, and finally Classic and Vintage Commercials, which is my present title. And this is my Volvo 240 estate. Those of you who've read me in the past will know that I do quite like Volvos anyway. I've got to a stage in life now where I'm trying to build up a little collection of personal cars that I can keep that will stay with me forever. And this is one of them. It was acquired really by luck. It was living in the next village to where I live. The owner died and his widow needed to sell it. She'd been offered £500 by a banger racer, which I topped and bought it. It's needed quite a fair amount doing to it. It obviously the paint was very flat when I got it. It hadn't been used for about a year at that point. It had the usual problem with around the tailgate at the back. Needed repair. Needed the panel at the bottom of the tailgate needed welding up, and it needed damn good polish. But other than that, it's been pretty good. It's a car that is used regularly. It's our boot sale wagon and our tip wagon. So when garden rubbish needs to go to the tip, it goes in this. And when we find in the house we've brought up a load of stuff sufficient to take to a car boot, it goes in this again. And that's really what it is.
Hello. Well, it's tough to actually choose my favourite unexceptional classic car, because even if they're unexceptional, I'm finding them sort of exceptional. It's really weird because this world, look at it, the place is packed with people enjoying their exceptional, unexceptional cars, if you know what I mean. Mine would be, having a little wander around, would be a nice little Fiat Panda, actually a 4x4 styler push gearbox, fantastic little car that is cheap to own, cheap to maintain, really simple, basic engineering. Not only that, they are a little mountain goat of a car. If you was to cross the channel and go anywhere near the big mountain at Mont Blanc, you'll still see them getting skiers to their ski resorts after all these years. It shows you how durable and enduring they really are. So yeah, mine would be a little Fiat Panda. Nice car. Well, if you're looking to buy yourself an unexceptional car, why should you choose one of those over a run-of-the-mill classics? Price, really, is price point. You can buy many cars in this car park. In fact, the winning car last year was £900. The car that won. The car that comes second last year was £500. So you can get yourself an unexceptional car for just a few quid, get it insured for just a few quid, and come and enjoy, you know, the delights of unexceptionalness.
Hi, my name's David Broom. Car I'm in today is a 1986 Ford Escort 1.4L. It's been in the family from new. Belonged to my stepfather and his mother before him. It was left to him in the will. Then it came along to me. Put it back on the road probably about 12 to 15 years ago. It was in pretty good condition until about 5 years ago, and it was stolen and used in a ram raid. That's interesting in itself, but I work in local government, I'm an architect, and it was one of the properties that we manage that it had ram raided. So I got a message in the early hours of the morning from a friend saying, "Is this your car?" And it was a picture of my car in the front of a shop unit. The shop unit was a cycle shop called Wide Open. So there's a picture of my car parked in the front of the shop unit with the sign Wide Open above it. Was never declared as being stolen, so I bought it back off the police forensics for £220. Had it trailered back home. If you look at the front of it, it's still looking beaten up. A friend of mine who's a mechanic, we beat the car back into a car shape, got it roadworthy again, and that's pretty much it. It's been like that ever since. It's a keeper, no intentions of ever getting rid of it. As I say, family owned, so not many cars that have been in single family from new. So yeah, it's something that don't use it as a daily driver, but it's out all year round. Just bring it out occasionally to shows like this. But yeah, that's my little interesting story for this car.
Hi, I'm Will, and this is my 1992 Rover Metro GS. I bought it to use as a bit of a daily car, just as a bit of fun, because I'm into that sort of thing. I've grown up with Rovers all my life, and initially I had a modern car and it just was a bit boring. I wanted something to work on, so I take this on little adventures, you know, that sort of thing. I grew up liking the 6R4, the rally car, so this is the closest I'll probably get.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Hurst, and this is my Vauxhall Nova GTE, which we've had. I say we, it was my dad's originally, and then when I passed my driving test I got it, and then it used to break down, I mean all the time, so much so that my boss at the radio station where I worked said to me, "If you don't get a new car, I'm going to fire you." So I asked him for a pay rise, and he gave me a small pay rise, and I got out of the car, which left this sitting on my dad's drive for years. And I talked about it on my old breakfast show, and my dad had given me an ultimatum saying, scrap it or do something with it. So I mentioned it on the show, and then loads of listeners got in touch, and one in particular said, "Well, we'll restore it for you." And therein lied the long journey of restoring this back to a former glory. And she's done. She occasionally has the odd trouble. Occasionally, she can be troublesome. But I guess that's the joy of owning a classic, isn't it?
Hello, I'm Craig. I'm from Lincolnshire. This is quite a local event for me. This is my Nissan Micra K10. I've had for 4 years. Genuine mileage on the clock was only 50,000. One owner from near enough, family owner from new. It's had some work done to it, and I'm very pleased to show it today.
Hello, I'm David Shadbolt. This is Monty, my MG 1100. He was new in May 1967. I've had him 3 or 4 years now. I can't claim to have done much of the work myself. He was already beautifully restored when I got him, but my pleasure doesn't come from dismantling him every weekend and sort of polishing every nut and bolt. My pleasure comes from having him, keeping him mobile and using him, which is what I do. I basically spend all my time now, I'm retired, taking him to various car shows like this one. I just get such a lot of pleasure from seeing the reaction you get from the visitors to the car show. They nearly all have the same line, which is, my mum had one of those. And it's great to hear people's experiences. I get such a lot of fun driving it, really do.
Okay, I'm Maren, and I live in Stamford, and I've had this Audi since 2001. It's been in my family from new. My granddad bought it in 1985, and then it passed over to my dad. I fetched it to England. I brought it over to England in 2001, and I've driven it ever since. The last sort of 10 years, I've put it away for the winter just to extend its life a bit. But up to then, it was my only car, my only transport, so it's done about 180,000 miles now, and it's been backwards and forwards to Germany quite a few times, and to Scotland and all over.
Hi guys, it's Lily Crabtree, Sarah Crabtree's daughter, obviously. This is my Ital, well, Sarah's Ital, but my Ital at the minute. Brought him here today, loving it so far. Took him to a car fest last weekend as well, made it there in one piece kind of. Had a few mishaps, but we managed to get there. We got here easily there today, so it was easy drive down, 2.5 hours, but it's worth it to see some of these cars. Yeah, gonna have a nice day if the rain stops. And Mum lets me drive it, which is a shock. Thanks to Lancaster Insurance though, they put me on that for a deal, which was good of them. It's good to get me out in it, as I don't have a car. This is my daily car at the minute, which is ace. Driving it to work and back, so good. Loving it.
I'm James, I'm from Practical Classics magazine, and we've been coming to the Festival of the Unexceptional for, well, ever since the first day actually, for the first event in 2014. And it's grown, it's got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's been really interesting to see the kind of cars turning up and the way they've been changing. You know, at the beginning there was Fiat Stradas and a few Cavalier Mark 1s, that sort of thing. So it's been really interesting to see the event grow and develop and evolve. And here today we've got all sorts of amazing 90s and 2000s classics as well. And I'd rate this Berlingo in amongst those. It's my Berlingo. I've got 5 of the blasted things. I've been buying them since about 2017. And I just love them. I love the fact that they can do pretty much anything and everything. But in terms of the way they're here today, I've seen a few of them. And I think they've become that sort of perfect 90s do-everything wagon, like the Kangoo. I think you could probably add the Caddy and a few other similar kind of other MPV sort of vans with windows, aren't they really? But I just love it. It's a very 90s thing in the sense that what they did in the 90s with interiors would just chuck a load of really brightly coloured fabrics and upholstery in them. So they had, so you had all sorts of Protons driving around with bright pink seats, and in this case, bright green and yellows, just to kind of liven things up again. And of course, everyone's stopped doing that. Everything's rather sort of dull and grey now inside the modern cars. So it'd be lovely to see that make a comeback. But here at the Festival of the Unexceptional, that's all you see: lurid colours and far more exciting cars than you would ever believe.
Hello, my name's Sam. This is my 1994 Vauxhall Astra Merit. I've had it for roughly about 3 years. I bought it from my old man's neighbour. It was an old boy that stayed across the street from him, and yeah, it caught my eye before, and I really liked the look of it, so I put a note for his door. And yeah, long story short, he sold me it. He'd owned it since it was 3 years old. It was a Motability car originally, and he bought it at 3 years old, and he just absolutely cherished it. And when I got it, it had 34,000 miles on the clock. It's now up to 46, but yeah, and it's my pride and joy. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram name is Auld Motors in Auld Reekie. That's AULD Motors in Auld, AULD Reekie, REEKIE. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Mateusz Strzyżewski. I came all the way from Poland with my pony here. It took us, me and my girlfriend, about 3 days to get here, but we stopped a bit on the way, so we had a really nice time in Germany and in France, then traveled around West Country for a week, and now we are here on the Festival of Unexceptional. I bought this car a few years ago from a second owner, but for almost 30 years years it was owned by an old lady. I think she was born in 1927, and she only did 50,000 kilometers in it. So I actually, since I own this car, it's the longest trip I ever did, and I believe when I will be back home, this whole week will, the amount of kilometers that I will do will be more than I drove this car in the last few years. I'm not sure what to tell. What more should I tell? They are really rare in Poland. As far as I know, they're really rare in England as well. There's about 13 of them left.
I'm Jude and I acquired this Hyundai Elantra a few months ago from two guys in Exeter. Now, I live a bit further away, so I had it delivered to me, but that wasn't a problem. It's the car I've wanted for many years, maybe not on everyone's wish list. You know, maybe most people probably never heard of one, even within the car world, but for me it was a must. And you know, I've had a few months with it and it's been fantastic. It's in really good condition for the year. It's meant to be the last one left on the road from 1992, and I have to say it's a pleasure to be displaying it here today at Festival of the Unexceptional. I've always been into quirky cars. I mean, I know you've reviewed me before with my Kia Pride, and I've had several other bizarre vehicles over the years that I've loved owning, but this one, it's a keeper. I don't plan to sell it anytime soon, and I think, yeah, I'm going to have it for the long term.
Hi Steph, my name's Joel Willis and this is my 1996 Ford Ka. She's an absolute base model, and she was produced in the first month of production, and she's done 23,000 miles from new. I bought her 2 years ago. She's just had one lady who's owned it since it was 18 months old. She was a demo car originally, and then, like I say, this lady had her for 23 years. Always put her in the garage or under the carport, and I feel very lucky that she's survived this well, because, as I'm sure virtually anyone who knows a little bit about cars knows, these cars just love to rust. So the fact that I've got one of the oldest ones in existence and it is like 98% rust free, I think winner winner. So yeah, she's really good. I just love her to bits. She works my muscles because the very first ones didn't have power steering. So I have got a later Ka, and I can just whiz around nice and easy. She does require a bit more elbow grease, this one, but yeah, love her to bits.
Hi Steph, good to see you again. My name is Chris, for your viewers. This is Pam, my Renault Megane Scenic, launched in '96. This one here I bought actually less than a year ago, very cheaply. The owner had enough. It was the second owner of the car. The rear tailgate was too heavy actually for the owner, as far as I understand. Yeah, I've always wanted a Renault Megane Scenic, a nice early one, the pre-facelift model. Now the paint is pretty ropey, unfortunately, but maybe I'll treat her to a respray one day. But I've always wanted one, and I feel very lucky to have one.
Well, they must be multiplying, because we started the video with 1 Proton and we end it with 3, including one that you've probably seen before, especially if you've been to this show before, because this won last year and there is actually a video of it on the channel as well. It's been a thoroughly excellent day. If you've never been to the Festival of the Unexceptional before, make sure you add it into your calendar for next year. It's definitely the highlight of my year for me, and I'm going to end this Unexceptional show on an exceptional note with probably one of the biggest gatherings of Protons that anyone has had in the last decade. Now, I hope you've enjoyed it. Next Sunday we're on to something completely different. We are on to an adventure video. So until that point, when we meet again, take care and drive safely.